if you're watching this, hit that like button right now because this story is a wild ride. It's about my 10th wedding anniversary, a fancy Italian restaurant, and the moment my entire world collapsed, then surprisingly got rebuilt. The title says it all. My husband invited his ex to our anniversary dinner. I didn't expect what happened next, but trust me, you can't guess the next. It's a twist so cold-blooded, so calculated, it still makes my stomach turn. I'm Sarah. I spent 10 years building a life with Mark. We had the house, the mortgage, the dog, the quiet routine. I thought we were solid. I was wrong. The foundation was made of sand, and I had no idea until the anniversary text came through. It was Tuesday. Our anniversary was Saturday. I had reservations at the Verona, the place we went every year. I was getting a special watch engraved for him. I was feeling great. Then his phone buzzed. He picked it up, quickly read the text, and flashed me a nervous, almost too bright smile. "Hey, honey. I've got a surprise for Saturday. I took the liberty of adding a guest to our dinner. Hope you don't mind. It's Lisa." Lisa. My husband's ex-girlfriend. The one he dated right before me. The girl he still talked about sometimes, always with that annoying, wistful tone. He always said she was such a great connection, just not the right timing. Every wife knows that means I still think about her. I felt a cold knot tighten in my chest. I stared at him. Lisa? To our 10th anniversary dinner? It felt like a punch, a joke, a cruel experiment. Wait, what? Lisa, why? I asked, my voice calm, too calm. His reply was quick, too quick. "Oh, she's just back in town. We bumped into her last week. She's starting a new business venture. And I just thought it'd be nice. She's doing really well. It's good networking for you too." Networking. That was the first lie. The absolute first giant blinking red light that should have set me running for the hills. Lisa wasn't in my industry. She was a former marketing executive who became a small-time business coach. I own a bakery and catering company. What world-class networking was I going to get from Lisa at my anniversary dinner? I tried to shake it off. Maybe I was overreacting. Maybe Mark was just trying to be a good friend. Or maybe he was testing me, trying to see how secure I was. Either way, the special day was ruined. It went from a romantic celebration to a weird, stressed out business lunch with my husband's old flame sitting across from me, sipping our expensive Cabernet. But that was before the real story started. That was just the opening scene. I spent the next 2 days in a total fog. I couldn't focus at work. My assistant, Maria, kept asking what was wrong. I just told her anniversary stress. On Thursday night, I went home. Mark was on the phone, talking softly, not the soft tone he used with me. This was a secret conspiratorial whisper. When he saw me, he snapped the phone shut, a look of pure panic flashing across his face before he masked it with a tired smile. "Rough day, honey?" I asked, my voice calm, too calm. "Oh, just my brother, talking about the game." He lied. I didn't press it. I didn't want to fight. Not yet. I had a theory, a terrible gut-wrenching theory. It wasn't just about cheating, because that would be too simple. This felt darker. It felt structured, like a job. I walked over to his side of the couch. "Hey, listen, about Saturday. I'm okay with Lisa coming, but please promise me, don't let this turn into a business meeting. It's our day." He kissed me on the cheek, that surface level kiss that tells you everything you need to know, and said, "Of course not, Sarah, just a little catch up." That night, I started my investigation. And believe me, when a woman suspects betrayal, she doesn't just hire a private investigator, she becomes a private investigator. I took the meticulous, step-by-step approach of a woman who knows she has to gather enough proof to not just survive, but to win. First, I checked his car. Lisa was a business coach. What does a business coach need? A nice pen, a briefcase. I didn't find those. I found a small, fancy, leather-bound notepad on the passenger seat. Mark hadn't seen it. I opened it. The pages weren't filled with notes on business strategy or client meetings. They were filled with numbers. My company's numbers, dates for key funding rounds, names of my main suppliers, and next to them, scrawled in Lisa's neat handwriting, were the letters SB Catering and a phrase that chilled me to the bone. Deadline Saturday night. SB Catering. Sarah's Best Catering. That was my business name, the legacy my grandmother started, the company I was running. This wasn't an affair. This was a hostile takeover. They weren't planning a romantic fling. They were planning to steal my life's work right out from under me. They had used 10 years of marriage, all my love and trust, to set a trap. They wanted me drunk, distracted, and signing papers that would bankrupt me while they toasted their success. I printed every email, every number, and every page of the contract. I made 4 copies. I filed them in a fireproof safe just in case. Then, just like the wronged woman in the story I read about, I knew I needed professional help. I couldn't just confront them. They would deny everything, destroy the proof, and leave me in a messy, long, and expensive legal battle. I needed a knockout blow, a public, undeniable exposure that would make their plan and them collapse on the spot. I called the number for a business crimes detective I knew, Thomas, a former client who owed me a big favor. I told Thomas everything, leaving out no detail, the notepad, the SB dissolution contract, the deadline. They're going to try to get me to sign something, I said to Thomas, my voice barely a whisper, at the dinner. I need you to be there. I need proof of the conspiracy. I need to know what they're saying when they think they've won. Thomas didn't hesitate. I'll do it, Sarah. I'll get the wiretap permission based on the financial fraud angle. We'll set up a hidden camera at the restaurant too if we can bribe the right waiter. I'll get their conversation. I had a few hours to myself on Friday morning. Mark was out saying he was getting the car washed for the big night. I knew he was meeting Lisa's people. I went to my local office supply store and then to a specialty tech store. I bought what I needed to build my own trap. I was going for maximum humiliation, maximum retention, and maximum legal protection. My plan had 3 parts, all centered on the moment Mark and Lisa would think they had won. First, I needed to create a perfect fake document. I took a genuine document from my company's files, a list of old, unused kitchen equipment. I replaced the title with Final Shared Transfer Agreement, Sarah's Best Catering. It looked exactly like the real contract, same font, same layout. But the signature lines were placed on a thick, dark spot on the page, the only place a fountain pen would be able to write. I also added one line, hidden in the dense legal text, that essentially said, this document is a formal declaration of my knowledge of and intent to expose financial fraud. This was my legal safety net. Second, I needed to ensure they couldn't just grab the document and run. They needed to sign it, then realize their mistake. I remembered the revenge from the story I read. The glue. That was physical. My revenge had to be digital and public. I bought a small, high-powered, portable mini projector the size of a deck of cards. I loaded it with all the damning proof, the photos of the notepad, the SB dissolution contract, Mark's email to the lawyer. Then I focused on the moment of the toast. I remembered that Mark loved to clink glasses to toast a big success. I took a special bottle of champagne I had gotten for our actual anniversary, the one I had planned to share in private. It was a vintage bottle with a gold label. I carefully cut the label just enough to slip a small, strong, wireless microphone purchased from the tech store underneath. No one would ever see it. Third, I called Maria, my assistant. She was loyal, but more importantly, she was a massive woman who could keep her mouth shut and follow directions. I said, Maria, I need you Saturday night. No questions. Wear your best dress and get 6 of your most reliable kitchen staff. They all need to dress up like waiters, like delivery people, whatever. They need to be positioned around the Verona at 8 p.m. I will give you a signal. When I do, you and your girls need to do 3 things. First, secure the exits. Second, get the police officer I'm sending to the restaurant's entrance. Third, deliver a very special package to my table. Maria just said, consider it done, boss. What kind of package? A large, flat-screen TV on a rolling cart. I want it set up 10 feet from our table, plugged into the wall, and showing a blank screen. It needs to look like a menu board that's not working yet. I hung up. Maria was confused, but she knew I was serious. I had the proof. I had the trap. I had the timing. Now all that was left was the dinner. Saturday night, 7:45 p.m. I walked into the Verona with Mark. He was wearing an expensive, tailored suit, smiling, looking relaxed and satisfied. He had the look of a cat who had just eaten the canary and was ready for a nap. I, however, was running on pure adrenaline. My dress felt heavy. The tiny mini projector was taped to the bottom of my chair, aimed at the wall 10 feet above the TV screen. The remote was in my clutch. The special fountain pen I'd bought, which had a small, almost invisible ink sealing glue applied to the tip, was clipped to my inner clutch pocket. We were seated at our usual table in the semi-private corner. It was a secluded spot, perfect for a romantic dinner or a confidential signing. Lisa arrived at 8 p.m. sharp. She was wearing a beautiful black dress, and she walked over to our table with the confidence of a woman who thought she had already won. "Sarah, you old dog," she said, shaking my hand with an annoying, patronizing warmth. 10 years, huh? Wow, great to see you. "Lisa," I replied, forcing a smile that felt like sandpaper on my face. "An interesting surprise. Mark is full of ideas." Mark just laughed too loudly. "I told her, you two need to connect, Sarah. Lisa's a genius with, assets." The dinner started slowly. Small talk, lies, surface-level conversation. I had Thomas's contact on my watch, ready to receive the wired conversation. I was checking my watch constantly. Maria and the TV were in place. Mark kept circling back to my business. "So, Sarah's Best Catering. You guys are doing great. But Sarah, in this economy, it's about agility, not legacy. You should really think about who you trust with the future of the company. It's too big a risk to carry on your own." He was priming me, setting the stage. I just nodded, acting slightly drunk from the glass of red wine I had barely touched. "You're right, Mark. It is a big risk. My grandmother always said, share the burden or the weight will break you." Lisa's eyes lit up. This was the moment, the cue. Mark leaned in, pulling a thick folder out of his briefcase. "Exactly, Sarah. That's why I brought this. Just a casual little agreement. A partnership idea. Look, I'm putting a lot of capital into a new venture, and I think SB Catering is the perfect acquisition to kick things off. But don't worry, you'll still be on board. We just need to formalize the arrangement. It's a win-win." He slid the document across the table. It was the thick folder with my fake contract inside. Mark pulled out the expensive gold fountain pen and handed it to me. "It's a new one, honey, for luck. Why don't you have a look and sign it? We can celebrate properly after." I picked up the fake contract. I saw the title, Final Share Transfer Agreement. I saw the dense fake legal text. I looked at the signature block, the dark, heavily glued section. I looked up at Mark. His eyes weren't looking at me with love or hope. They were looking at me with predatory greed. He was holding a champagne bottle. "You know what?" I said, my voice rising slightly. "My grandmother always told me a deal isn't a deal until you toast it with the good stuff." I picked up the bottle of special vintage champagne, the one with the tiny microphone taped under the label. "Before I sign, let's toast," I said, eyes locked on Lisa, "to new partnerships." Mark and Lisa both grabbed their glasses, a satisfied, smug look on their faces. Mark brought the bottle over to pour. As he tilted it, the small, almost imperceptible microphone under the label was now perfectly positioned to capture their voices and mine close up. Clink! The microphone picked up the sound perfectly. "To the future," Lisa whispered, leaning over her glass. Mark laughed again, that cold, awful, secret laugh. "No, Lisa, to the past being finally dealt with and to getting rich." I raised my glass. "Actually," I said, looking right at Mark, "I have a different toast. I toast to justice." I placed my glass back down. I reached into my clutch and pressed the remote. At that moment, two things happened. First, the TV screen, which had been blank, suddenly flickered to life. It wasn't the image from my mini projector. It was the live feed from Thomas, the detective. And Thomas had not only got the conversation wired, he had found their old video chat recordings. The screen lit up with Mark's face talking to Lisa on a video call from 2 weeks ago. Mark's voice boomed through the restaurant's quiet dining room, amplified by Maria's crew, who had secretly plugged my receiver into a speaker near the serving station. "Sarah is so predictable. She'll be so flattered that I invited Lisa. She'll sign anything. I'll tell her it's for a new tax shelter. The house is in my name, and once we get SB Catering, we're set. She'll have nothing." Lisa's voice followed. "I told you, she trusts you too much. The anniversary dinner is perfect cover. She signs the papers, we clink our glasses, and by Monday, we own her grandmother's legacy." A gas went through the nearest tables. The clinking of silverware stopped. Second, the TV screen went blank, but the projected image from my mini projector, taped under my chair, now filled the wall above the blank screen. It was a giant, high-resolution image of the leather-bound notebook with the handwritten entry, "SB Catering, deadline Saturday night." The noise in the restaurant was deafening. The crowd was on their feet, pointing. Mark's face went white. Lisa's face, which had been so smug a moment ago, looked like a statue had cracked down the middle. "Sarah, what is this?" he shrieked, his voice echoing in the sudden silence. "This is insane. Turn it off." Insane? I stood up. I looked at the crowd. I looked at my husband. "No, Mark, it's called proof." I pressed the remote again, and the wall was flooded with his email, the one titled Final Document Review for Asset Transfer, and the attachment SB Dissolution. Lisa lunged across the table. "You snake! You set us up!" Before she could grab the folder, Maria and two of her waiters wearing immaculate white shirts were at the table. Maria, all 5'10" of her, gently put a massive hand on Lisa's shoulder. "Ma'am, I'm going to have to ask you to remain seated," she said, her voice quiet, firm, and completely professional. Mark was sobbing now, a dramatic fake cry he used when he wanted to get his way. "Sarah, stop this. Think of our marriage. I love you." "You don't love me," I replied, picking up the gold fountain pen he had given me. This pen has a special kind of sealant on the tip. You were going to try to sign my name on this document and make the ink smudge or dry up to claim I didn't legally sign it, weren't you?" He stared at the pen. He knew. He was still trying to sabotage the physical evidence. I looked at the crowd who were now recording the whole thing on their phones. I had just provided a viral moment for an entire restaurant. "You invited your ex to our anniversary dinner, Mark?" I said, loud enough for the microphone taped to the champagne bottle to pick up. "Not because you were cheating on me, but because you and she were conspiring to bankrupt me and steal my family's business. You used our anniversary as a chance to steal my signature." I turned to Lisa, who was now being led away by Maria's second waiter. "And you, Lisa, this wasn't networking. This was grand larceny." At that moment, the door of the Verona opened and a uniformed police officer walked in, followed by Detective Thomas. "Sarah, we got everything on the wire. Conspiracy, attempted fraud. We have all the documents now. They're done." The cameras flashed. The police officer went straight to Mark. "Mr. Mark Keller, you are under arrest for conspiracy to commit financial fraud." Mark didn't look at me. He looked at the giant TV screen, now showing his mug shot to be projected on the wall. His shame was public. His defeat was complete. The drama lasted less than 10 minutes, but the consequences will last a lifetime. The restaurant, the Verona, was chaotic, but the staff were incredible. They even started cleaning up before the police finished their report. Outside, the neighborhood was already buzzing. Maria's crew, having done their job perfectly, dissolved back into the night. I walked home alone. The watch I had planned to give him, the one that said 10 years forever, was still in my pocket. It felt like a stone. The next morning, I was exhausted but clear-headed. I knew I had to move quickly. I filed for divorce immediately. The evidence of financial fraud and conspiracy made the divorce simple and absolute. I kept the house. I kept the company. I kept everything. He lost it all. Lisa, too, was facing a mountain of legal trouble. Their greedy scheme had resulted in total failure. My grandmother's legacy, Sarah's best catering, was safe. Maria came into my office Monday morning. She didn't ask about Mark. She just said, "Boss, what's the next project? We have a lot of work to do." I smiled, a real smile. The next project, Maria, is building the company bigger than my grandmother ever imagined. We're getting a new wing on the main factory, and we're getting a new partner, the kind you can trust. Life didn't go back to normal. It got better. I spent the next year working. I traveled. I took time for myself for the first time in a decade. I went to the same cooking club the wronged woman in that story I read about went to. I found a great group of people who simply talked about life and shared simple, honest meals. 6 months after the divorce was final, I was sitting in my living room. I picked up the engraved watch, the one I didn't give him. I took it back to the jeweler and had them change the engraving. I didn't want to get rid of it. It was proof of what I survived. The new engraving simply said, "Justice, 1026. I never wore it. I just kept it on my desk as a reminder. I learned a simple but profound truth. The greatest betrayal is not always physical. Sometimes the worst kind of betrayal is the one that uses your love, your trust, and your commitment as the framework for a massive lie. But I won because I didn't cry, I didn't beg, and I didn't just accept my fate. I became a detective, a planner, and a strategist. I used their own arrogance and their own greedy timetable against them. And to that gold fountain pen Mark gave me, the one with the hidden glue, I sent it back to the lawyer with the new signed documents. It was a final message.
The only contract I'll ever sign again is one that I write. I'm Sarah, and my husband invited his ex to our anniversary dinner because they wanted to steal my life. I didn't expect what happened next, but I made sure they got the ending they deserved. Did you like this story? And what would you have done in my place? Let me know in the comments below. And if you like stories of revenge served cold, stick around because there's so much more coming to the channel. Don't forget to subscribe.